I've done a lot of stuff with My Hero Academia characters on this channel. I've Venomized them a couple times, I've put some of them in Iron Man armors, I've given a bunch of them one for all, but I don't think I've ever been as excited to do a My Hero Academia episode as today. Because turning characters from Class 1A into dragons is just gonna be... it's gonna be a blast. There's so many awesome characters to pull from, and enough that I'll probably end up having to do a second round of this. And if that idea appeals to you, make sure to leave a like, because I definitely missed some people's favorite characters. Admittedly, I picked mostly my favorite characters for this episode, although I don't have Bakugo in this one. Definitely next time, if you hit the like button. But for now, our first round of My Hero Academia Dragons. Let's go! Despite having bounced around the globe for our previous dragon analysis, today's dragons can all be found in Japan. Our first dragon of the day is born without any of the defensive or predatory traits that most dragons acquire from birth. The sparking Dreku starts its life with no wings, no fire, and a very frail figure. It is incredibly rare to see one of these dragons fully grown, as they're often killed off before reaching maturity due to their lack of strengths. But if one of these dragons manages to make it to young adult years, they become incredibly powerful creatures. Their frail bodies quickly become muscular and agile. While they never grow wings or acquire fire breath, they become incredibly strong jumpers, with their large back legs that can propel them miles in a single bound. You can tell when one of these beasts is about to use its full strength as turquoise lightning starts to spark off its body, hence its name, and pink veins light up across its hide. When they first develop these strengths, sparking Drekus are prone to injuring themselves, as the power can come on so quickly that they don't have time to adapt to their new abilities. But once fully matured, these drakes become some of the most powerful and noble creatures to ever grace the earth. Now with our Deku Dragon, I almost felt kind of bad not making him more of a full-fledged dragon and making him a drake. I mean, drakes are still dragons, but you know, it would have been cool to see a full winged-up, fire-breathing Deku Dragon, but it just made so much more sense to have this be a dragon that has lots of limitations to it, that then becomes more powerful, even if it doesn't appear to be a super powerful dragon. Because, you know, that's just so much more in line with Deku's start and origin in My Hero Academia. And also, in this video, I don't know if it's because I was away from the dragon videos for a few weeks, but I had a blast with this and I had such an easy time coming up with ideas. And I think part of that is that the My Hero Academia characters have such unique, interesting designs, and there was more stuff to pull from in their original designs to put on these dragons. I obviously love a lot of the designs of Marvel characters, and I grew up reading Marvel and DC, but I find a lot of the character design in My Hero Academia to be a little bit more unique and interesting. And I don't mean that as a diss to Marvel and DC, but there is such cool character design work in this show. It was a blast pulling from these characters, and I really hope you like our Deku Dragon to kick off the video. Next, we have a dragon that is skilled at offense, but is particularly adept at defense. The red stone guard, in its resting state, has skin like an average dragon, but when threatened, this creature can tense parts of its flesh and become as hard as stone. In some cases of extreme turmoil, they can even harden their entire hide at once, becoming essentially unbreakable. One of their eyes will begin to glow bright red in this state, and anyone should know to stay well away from them if they see that happening. While these dragons are mid-scale, only growing to about 30 to 35 feet long, in this hardened state, they can take on dragons many times their size. While the Redstone Guard has a particularly threatening appearance, with large protruding fangs, a spiked head, and a quite intimidating red and black color scheme, they are largely friendly creatures. They've even been known to help humans attempting to traverse the dangerous mountains in which these dragons make their homes. The Stone Guards don't pose much of a threat to humanity, but gods help any beast or beings that threaten them or their allies. Now, even though Kirishima is not necessarily one of my favorite characters in My Hero Academia, because he just isn't one of the bigger characters, I think he's become one of my favorite characters to draw, and draw stuff based off of him. I really loved Venomizing him in the Venom episodes. And for turning him into a dragon, there was just so much to pull from. His mask slash face and head situation transitioned so seamlessly into a dragon, because he's basically already got a dragon slash creature-like mouth on his mask. I don't even know if you call it a full mask, because it only covers a tiny part of his face, but that switched so easily onto a dragon, and his hair is basically like dragon spikes already. It was really easy. It was so much fun. And something else you might notice in this episode is a lot of the dragons I'm giving bigger eyes than usual. And there's sort of two reasons for that. One, I'm trying to use the actual eye shape from the characters in My Hero Academia, because a lot of the characters have really distinct eye shape designs, jumping from one character to the next. And then also just because these dragons are all slightly on the smaller side compared to like our Thanos dragon or Hulk dragon or some of the other ones, because they're all based off of young teenagers. It didn't feel super fitting for any of them to be big colossal dragons, so smaller dragons usually means bigger eye in proportion to the rest of their body. Although I guess this guy's eye is still kinda small. But anyway, regardless, I love how this one turned out. One of my favorites of the video. So here he is, our Red Riot Dragon. Just want to quickly point out the fact that the reason we're doing My Hero Academia dragons today is because the last time I put up a poll asking people what I should turn into dragons, My Hero Academia came second, after X-Men, but I've already done the X-Men episode. And if you want to make sure to have a say in what gets drawn on the channel, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified when videos come out on Fridays and Mondays. Once again, sorry for another awkward mid-video pitch for subscribes, but it really does help. When I remember to do these, subscriptions always go up. Anyway, let's move on to Froppy. Next we have the smallest dragon that we've seen in this series, but don't let that fool you. These are still quite formidable creatures. The Leaping Wild Tongue is a frog-like dragon that only gets to about 6 feet in length, but has a tongue that can stretch nearly 20 meters full-flung. And even at full length, the tongue is strong enough to lift and toss creatures around as large as a horse. These amphibious dragons are often found near water, and are sometimes mistaken for dire toads. Though, these creatures, like most we discussed today, are not particularly hostile towards humans. These dragons do have wings and can fly, but because of their incredible leaping abilities and the fact that they predominantly live in forests, they often only use their wings to glide through a jump. These dragons have a vibrant green and yellow color palette, and as a built-in intimidation method, they have rounded bony protrusions sprouting from their head, inside of which are reflective red orbs that look like a second set of eyes to disorient foes. These dragons are a bit odd looking and can be particularly entertaining to sit and watch if found while wandering through a forest. Now, like I say in most of the dragon videos, there's always gotta be at least one weird-looking dragon in the video, and that's gotta be Froppy. And going into this video, I knew it was gonna be Froppy. I knew I was gonna take a lot of frog inspiration for her dragon design. And like with the Nightcrawler dragon, I think I might have taken a little bit too much normal animal inspiration in transitioning into a dragon. Like that one looked a little bit too much like a salamander gecko kind of character. This one might look a little bit too much like a frog. I wish I'd leaned a little bit more into some other dragon-y traits, but aside from that, I still really love how it turned out. Like with the Nightcrawler one again, because I wanted it to be very shiny and smooth and kind of moist and wet looking, more so than a lot of the other dragons. I did a lot less with the texture. I did the same texture that I normally would, but turned that layer down a whole bunch, and then did a lot more smoothing out of the shading line work, so it's not as harsh. It looks more rounded and glossy, and I think that came across really well in this one. It definitely looks like it has a different texture than the other dragons. I also like the pose of this one a lot more than some of the other ones. Like, I like most of these dragon drawings that I'm doing, but this one, you know, just has more inherent movement to it, because not only is the character leaping towards / off to the side of the camera, but the tongue is kind of flying up towards us and going around some of the different body parts. I think it was just a really fun one. I love how it turned out. Even if it doesn't have quite as many dragon traits as I might have liked, this is definitely one of my favorite renderings I've done on a drawing in a while. So I hope you all like it too, the Wild Tongue. Our final dragon, for now, is the twin-head Frostburn, named as such, you can partially imagine, for having two heads, but also for the fact that they can breathe both fire and a frosty ice beam that can freeze solid any opponents that they come across. But these abilities are separated between the two heads. The creature's left head shoots fire, while the right side shoots ice. Because of these abilities, the colloquial name for these dragons is the Icy Hot. It's also, as of yet, unclear why, but these dragons are far more likely to use their frost breath than their fire breath. It seems only when in extreme life-threatening situations that they'll use fire in combat. This could be due to personality differences between the left and right head, or for other reasons completely unknown to humanity. While this dragon is also not prone to attacking humans, it does have a stronger temper than previous dragons we've discussed today. Best to observe it from a distance, and if you do see them in full combat, enjoy the spectacle, as they can put up a fight like few dragons in existence. Especially when using their fire and ice in unison. Now initially, I'll be honest, I was disappointed with how the Todoroki Dragon turned out, but after I'd stepped away from it, I came back and I was like, oh no, you know what, I actually do like this one. I think I was just a little bit skeptical partway through the process, because as you saw, I spent a while reworking the heads on these characters. The heads of the other dragons in this episode came a little bit more easily, but this one, there was just something awkward about it that wasn't totally working, and eventually I kind of just settled on one that wasn't super special or interesting, but I think the combination of the two with the differences between them ended up making this still a pretty cool looking dragon. And I wasn't totally sure how to work in Todoroki's scar, because as with most of the dragons in this series, besides I think Thanos, I was trying to make a full species of dragons, not just an individual dragon, so it didn't make sense for every single one of these dragons to have the same scar. I could have potentially worked in this idea that the fathers of the dragons in this species aren't particularly nice to their offspring, but it just felt a little bit too weird and shoehorned in, so I decided to just give it a, texture on its head that looked like Todoroki's scar. And I imagine the fire side of the dragon has that same scarred kind of look on both sides of its face. But yeah, despite some rocky bits during the designing process, I do actually really like how Todoroki turned out. And I hope y'all do as well. Here's our Icy Hot Dragon. What do you think? Best dragon episode so far? I'm a little bit torn because I really loved how the second Avengers as Dragons episode turned out. That Hulk dragon and Spider-Man dragon. I really loved both of those. But anyway, do you want another round of My Hero Academia dragons? Because I kinda do. Let me know in the comments who else you'd like to see. All Might, Bakugo, Uravity, maybe some of the villains. Comments, let me know. And of course, if you haven't seen the previous Dragon episodes, make sure to check those out. I'll link the whole playlist of them. I've got a bunch of them. The other ones were all Marvel focused. What is that? It's like there's an army of bees in the wall. Anyway, I've got a whole bunch of them. All the other ones have been Marvel characters so far, but I plan on branching out. As I said, maybe more My Hero Academia characters, maybe Ben 10 characters, DC characters. We'll see what happens, and what people vote for. And of course, if you like superhero stuff, make sure to check out my recent Avengers and Justice League characters mashed up. Did an episode on heroes and an episode on villains. But besides that, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdiest art videos on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you all on Friday in the next video. Goodbye.